The Cougar Walk, a game day tradition at the University of Houston, led by head coach Major Applewhite. A city still basking in World Series glory. It's college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by the Home Depot. ECU faces Houston. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm John Sadak. He's the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross. Randy, both of these teams trying to capitalize on the success of success.
Well, for ECU, they got themselves a win against BYU and some much-needed rest. How they sort of handle that combination will determine really how they play today, in my mind. Now, on the Houston side, they beat an undefeated USF team last week. They have a team that doesn't have the world of experience. How do they handle that success? And I think that's something that Major Applewhite's even curious about.
Let's take a look at that success that came from 4th and 24, setting up the winner.
Yeah, it was, I guess, a great play. But when you look at it from the other side, why don't you knock that down? But they lose contain on the quarterback just a play or so later, and De'Aaron King takes it in for a touchdown. Now, this is a guy that's not all about his legs. Don't be deceived by the 5'11" stats about how tall he is. Very high release and really can spin the ball.
His first career start at quarterback will be had today. For ECU, you mentioned they've gotten healthy. Nearly a dozen are back from injury that either were out or slow to some extent. That includes the true freshman center, John Spellacy, who has the matchup of the game.
Yeah, he's got an all-day sucker. And Oliver, the last year a freshman All-American. Not a freshman All-American. He was a freshman. He was an All-American last year. How Spellacy handles him, especially if he gets any reps one-on-one, will determine the success that ECU has offensively.
Who will John Spellacy be snapping to? Let's welcome in the third member of our crew, Tina Cervasio.
John, ECU quarterback Thomas Sirk came out of the BYU game late in the third quarter with a triceps injury, but they had a bye, and that week off was beneficial to Sirk's health because head coach Scottie Montgomery says Sirk is ready to go. But Montgomery also said they like the way Gardner Minshew came in and completed that victory, so there's always a chance Minshew's number could be called as well.
Now, Scottie Montgomery called himself part weatherman. He said, it might rain, it might not. There might be Minshew, there may not.
And Minshew was a captain today. They do game-by-game captains, and Minshew was one of their captains.
And Major Applewhite, the leader of the Houston Cougars, had been the OC. He challenged his team to remember 3 weeks ago, his Cougars at 4-1 lost to a 1-5 Tulsa team. Don't overlook ECU.
Part of learning how to win is learning how to handle having just won a game and handling your business. Can the Cougars do it?
Deep kick by Caleb Pratt. No chance to run it back for Brandon McDowell. So the Houston Cougar offense will take the field. Quarterbacked at the start for the first time by De'Aaron King. Our starting lineups brought to you by Chick-fil-A. And the sophomore superstar, originally committed to TCU, has been a starter as a wide receiver, but he's been injured over the course of the last year plus, Randy. Injured going into the bowl game last year, spring ball, late in fall camp. He's now healthy and in shotgun.
Yeah, once we got a chance to see him last week, was very successful. Can he stay available? That's probably his biggest story.
Four-man front from ECU. Catalan out of the backfield, off the pump. King looking long. Linnell Bonner cannot come down with a football. Devin Sutton, an excellent job of disrupting on arrival.
Well, very nice job of that offensive line, too. Protecting up front, especially at right tackle. Rogers, 51, does a nice job. Stays active, stayed in front of their guys, and King is able to buy that extra time. Almost a big play.
Quick hitter to Bonner. Gets a block to chip off Sutton. The zigzag by Bonner, dragged down at around the 36 by Jordan Williams. Let's meet the rest of the starters for the Houston Cougars. The big grab on that 4th and 24 was ripped down by Courtney Larkin.
Yeah, Larkin really starting to emerge the last couple of weeks and being very, very assertive for a sophomore out at wide receiver.
Added about 30 pounds since last year. Motion from Alex Leslie, the Iowa State transfer at tight end. Inside run for Donald Duke Catalan. And he gets to the 39, about 3.
He's a sophomore, 30 pounds. I thought that was the freshman 15.
A positive 30 instead. Weight room instead of at the mess hall And Jordan Williams, a stud linebacker who's been banged up most of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he can go, and he'll have to help determine shutting that inside running game down, especially keeping an eye on King.
Top tackler on the squad, fading secondary. And the run, what space! Catalon, the stiff arm, and angles out of bounds in Houston territory. In ECU territory, that'll move the chains as Colby Gore helps him out of play after a gain of 15.
Again, nice job on that right side of that offensive line, led by Rogers. And then Catalon just gives that nice side scoot and gets the outside and catches the edge. You'll see this a lot. You'll see Houston get up, be ready, then look to the sideline. They're trying to give King as good a chance and as good a play as possible.
Do expect more tempo, though, as the game wears on, according to OC Brian Johnson. Similar play, trying to slip out of the grasp of Devondre Robinson. Head down, Catalon plows for an extra yard at the 39. Picks up 6.
Especially now. Now's when you want to see that pace. First couple of plays, fine. You're getting comfortable. Now you try to be more assertive on the pace side.
King surveys. Press shown at the bottom against Dunbar that fades back. What room on the right side again. They continue to pound off right tackle. Natai Rogers devastating his counterpart, even with rotation up front. Corinne Wiggins, the tackle.
Nothing in the way of filling off the edge, either by a safety or by a linebacker. Houston really easily getting that edge because Rogers just seals them down on that side.
Change at running back. Mulva Carr has entered, the bigger back of the two primary running backs for Houston. Change it up. Shade Carr to the right. ECU overloading that side. The blitz is on. And the opposite run for Carr, who's tamed just shy of the 30. Let's take a look at the keys to today's matchup.
Yeah, on this side for the offense, fast start. Mission accomplished so far. Defensively, ECU has to cause some turnovers. They need to get this offense off the field and get theirs on and let them have a little taste of success.
ECU has only gained 7 turnovers on the year, 117th in the country. There's the tight end, Romello Brooker. First contact arriving from Sutton. Get some help to spill him right around the marker.
So you can tell the pace. I'm sorry, John. The pace is getting a little bit quicker for Houston. Yes, maybe mainly King gets more comfortable.
Carr on the short yardage. Nice cutback, and Mulva Carr threads it inside the 5. Corinne Wiggins drags him down, and King wants to go tempo. Trips on the bottom.
Getting a lot more comfortable now.
Carr again, the steaming inside run for a few.
De'Ara King might have had himself a touchdown if he pulls that ball out there.
Robert Prunty, who was named defensive coordinator for the Pirates September 10th, replacing Kenwick Thompson, said of Mulva Carr, he leapt off to him on the tape against USF. Duke Catalon was banged up in the first half. He went into the game forecasting Catalon as the major threat and thought Carr's north-south running was standout. King following Carr into the end zone, touchdown. His 4th rushing score of the year.
They've had a few easy runs to the right on this drive. First run to the left, even more success. Carr gets a nice block in front. Williams at left tackle gets a nice block, sealing things down. And then it's 6 points and an easy run in for King.
11 plays, 75 yards, and a shade more than 4 minutes. Bit of a high snap. Caden Novikov drills the extra point. His first start at quarterback. De'Ara King, some help on the ground and pays it off all by himself, twirling into the end zone. Houston ahead, 7-zip.
Tina Cervasio back with you in Houston. The hometown Houston Cougars leading ECU 7-0. Now we're about to see Ed Oliver take the field for the Houston defense. And last week, the night before they played USF, his mother Dana gave him a call about 9 o'clock at night and said, Ed, I'm watching TV and these guys are saying some guy Flowers, talking about quarterback Quentin Flowers, is projected to have a better game than you. Ed was telling us the story in person. He said, hey, my mom gets fired up just like we get fired up, and she had a scouting report for me. Then she said, well, I'll be watching the game. Ed was a little motivated by that phone call. He had 7 tackles, 2 for a loss, and a sack from some guy named Flowers. Let's see what he could do today against some guy named Sir.
I think he might be listening to you right now, shaking his head side to side. He's ready.
He's ready to get off to a fast start, just like last week, John.
Trayvon Brown. Return game has not been stellar for ECU this year. And Brown swarmed shy of the 20. 17-yard run back. Let's take a look at the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. And Thomas Sirk indeed in huddle with his ECU Pirates, the grad transfer out of Duke, who's been banged up himself this year, had the contusion on the triceps of his right throwing arm against BYU, missed most of the late stage of that game. Gardner Minshew was the quarterback that led them to victory.
I guess it's a positive because the quarterback has very little regard for his health because he doesn't mind throwing his body around, and he's gotten dinged up accordingly.
Flick it back, looking long. Davon Grayson, it's too long, incomplete. Flea flicker on the opening play.
Had that one to Grayson. Grayson was clear by 4 or 5 yards. Flip back. That's a missed opportunity. They're going to kick themselves on that one. They're pulling out the plugs. Playing against a defense like this, you better have some shiny, sparkly things to distract them, because if you're meat and potatoes, you're going to have an issue with all of it.
I might lose focus if there are shiny, sparkly things. Sirk, quicker hitter to Trayvon Brown, immediately knocked down by Jeremy Winchester. Here's the rest of the starters for ECU on offense, including Deontay Smith at left tackle. Messiah Rice dismissed from the program.
Yeah, didn't make the trip. Locker cleaned out. No longer with the team.
Violation of athletics department policy. Smith only just back from injury. Who head coach Scottie Montgomery said he thought he would be one of their best offensive linemen entering the season. Third down's been a struggle. 80th in America. Sirk, too tall, whistling it over Trayvon Brown. Again, matched up with Jeremy Winchester. So they had a chance at an over-the-top touchdown, and instead they'll be forced to punt.
Yeah, nothing lets the air out of an offense faster than that kind of a great big play on the first one. It's hard to recover. I will say one thing to keep an eye on. They chop blocked Ed Oliver on that second play. I mean, really bad chop blocking. Like one guy held him up, one guy cut his legs out. That should have been called.
It's something that's happened to Oliver more and more, particularly the Temple game. And banged him up for a few weeks. Brandon McDowell, the fair catch on the back pedal. Houston will have its second possession. De'Ara King's first drive resulted in a rushing touchdown. After that 49-yard punt, we'll see what possession 2 will yield.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. By Ram Trucks, proven to last. And by Chick-fil-A. Start game day strong with the new breakfast hash brown scramble bowl.
Houston's brand new $20 million indoor practice facility unofficially opened this morning, while Ed Oliver just went into the medical tent after he was chopped during ECU's first offensive possession.
There's Ed Oliver right there at nose tackle. Watch this come in. He's engaged with the center, and the right guard hits him about thigh pad high. His leg was not engaged in the ground, so there wasn't any torque on his knee. But
off the play fake, a zigzag by Bonner. Jordan Williams arrives, silences him after 2, and Ed Oliver was in the medical tent getting looked at. Now having a long conversation on the sidelines with his former high school coach, A.J. Blum, now the D-line coach at Houston. On the ground, right side, flag flutters. Catalan dragged down by Williams. And a second flag. Looks like we'll have 2 penalties here.
Might be offsetting. Nice job by Williams, the left tackle, pulling around and leading on that power play.
Referee Tracy Jones. There's a shot at A.J. Blum, the head coach at Westfield High School, who taught Ed Oliver the mechanics of leverage and now helps mentor him and the rest of the defensive front for Houston.
Yeah, and the defensive coaches have to spend a lot of time now sort of helping Ed Oliver recognize some of the, well, I'll say less than ethical things people will try to do to him. Some would call them cheap shots like that last one.
He said it was something that he would be more aware of when we met with him this week, that he would have some surprises for those that tried to pounce upon him. Subtle play fake, King looking deep. Fires for Bonner, too tall. Bobby Fulp in coverage, who was among the many walking wounded for ECU in recent weeks.
Real challenge for Coach Prunty, the defensive coordinator at ECU. You got to find a way to put some pressure on King in this passing game. He can't continue to just sort of stand back here and look. You give this kid that many chances to look at you, you're going to have some issues down the field.
There is Robert Prunty. Took over as the DC during the year when he basically flip-flopped with Kenwick Thompson. More underneath, Stephen Dunbar. Jordan Williams there along with Colby Gore. So they go underneath and have to punt.
Not much there on that little quick screen out to the right to the receiver. Linemen get out, but ECU does a good job defending that one.
So here's Dane Roy, outstanding hang time for the sophomore from Australia, 28-year-old who once sold ice cream, no, not in the cart, more on a larger commercial basis. Quay Johnson lets it bound, falls down with it at the 25. ECU had a touchdown that got away the first time around after that 48-yard punt. The Pirates get a second look. Cougars on top 7-0 of ECU. Our Tops crew gets you up to speed on everything for the field of fantasy. It's that other pregame show presented by Kubota tomorrow morning, 8 Eastern on CBS Sports Network. ECU Pirates, Ed Oliver back out there for the Houston Cougars. Randy, you got to look on video during break. It appeared to be mid-thigh-ish.
Yeah, it's a helmet, shoulder pad, right into that side of his mid-thigh. And it'll put a hiccup in you.
Ekbule on the blitz, and he guesses right. Dead to rights. Darius Penix swallowed up for a loss of 5.
Yeah, that's the classic. Front goes one way, blitz comes the other. D-line goes left, blitz is coming off the edge with it. Man, never had a chance. There's a great call defensively.
ECU offensive coordinator Tony Peterson said he thought Ekbule was the second most impactful player at Houston's defense to Olive. What a sell on the fake. Brown, not enough numbers there. Garrett Davis, good tackle, only a yard.
Yeah, ECU showing a little of that run-pass option. Quick run look going to their left and a equally quick rear up and throw that thing out to the right. Good job by Houston with rallying to the ball.
Saw the other starters there for Houston, including the Texas A&M transfer Reggie Chevis. He's helped spell Oliver a bit. 3rd and 14. Not buying on that fake. Sir picked off. And Houston has a short field. Terrell Williams, his 4th interception, a tie for the conference lead.
On that play, it was pretty easy to figure out. The pocket kind of starts to collapse on Sirk. When it does, he tries to make a throw over the middle, and that seals up and disappears for him equally as fast. Kind of surprised that ball was. They're all back up, just man. They're in zone, and they're looking at the quarterback.
Terrell Williams ties his teammate Garrett Davis for the conference lead with his 4th pick. So a short field for De'Aaron King. Catalan slips right through. Duke Catalan, touchdown.
Catalan made Bobby Fulp miss, and once Bobby Fulp missed, Catalan cut back, and he was all speed from there. That's just one bad to slash missed tackle, and that's how important some of these can be. And that first guy that gets a shot, when he misses, it's a usually 10-yard miss, and if it's not that, in this case, it's a touchdown.
22 yards, a 7-second, oh-so-brief possession. Caden Novikov. Point after true. ECU gives it away, and the Cougars take plumb advantage. The Cougars' 11th pick of the year, an 11-yard return, and Duke Catalan zips it in. A 2-touchdown lead thanks to number 2. Total yardage 104-0. ECU has 5 yards in the air, -5 on the ground. And the host Houston Cougars, fresh off their upset of USF, they seem to be sitting pretty. While they're in rhythm, ECU, 5 times this year, the Pirates have allowed a 1-play scoring drive. ECU, in most metrics, could be the worst defense in America.
They've had some issues. Last time they came off a win against UConn, they faced a really good USF offense who pretty much smoked them. And right now they're having a heck of an issue with Houston.
Dead last in scoring defense, total defense, and third down defense. A touchback on the kick. Time now for Do Project Smarter, brought to you by the Home Depot.
This is what you get when you get an Ed Oliver. He penetrates, and yeah, they didn't block him there. But sometimes they start a good block. He gets off the ground and ends up getting a sack of flowers. That's one thing I really like about this kid. You talk to him. He's got a really nice personality, fun to talk to. And man, has he got a motor. And that's something with talent that can be even more impressive.
And the head coach for ECU, Scottie Montgomery, said that he thought Ed Oliver was among the smarter defensive linemen he has come across. His ability to gauge cadence and snap count. Gardner Minshew now in a quarterback. They've made a change, and he finds a connection in the air. They're going to double their total offense on the first play of the drive. Egbule drives him out of bounds.
A couple of nice touchdown passes after Cirque went out in that game against BYU. Like I mentioned, he was one of the captains today, so the team sort of recognizing him for his efforts in that game 2 weeks ago.
Off the bench, the numbers far better than when he started. With the blitz on, the fire to Grayson immediately. Collision from Isaiah Johnson, the converted wide receiver. We'll get about 6 seconds. It'll be down at 4.
And if you're facing a defense that's big on penetration, big on tackles for loss, you can frustrate defensive and defensive linemen specifically by spinning that thing out, getting it out quick, making completions, moving the ball.
ECU has a lot of confidence in Gardner Minshew, who, as you pointed out, Randy, a captain at the game start today. And what timing! The ball disrupted, flag down. Oliver surged right over center.
Couldn't tell if Ed Oliver was early or Spellacy kind of hesitantly snapped and paid for it. It's going to be offside, so it's against Oliver. Who moves first? Number 10 or the ball? Well, number 10 pretty easy.
That's part of what allows him to be so great, along with his ability to execute leverage.
Oh, he plays with amazing leverage.
Hassan Howe, reverse field. Quay Johnson. He'll be short as we take a look at the keys to today's game.
Well, the keys on this side for the offense, they're going to mix their quarterbacks. Well, they've already mixed their quarterbacks and played best, both of them, after that interception by Cirque. And for the defense, tackles for loss. We've only seen, I think, one of those so far for Houston. So
into the flat, a stumble. Jimmy Williams who's been banged up all year, plagued by a lower back issue in recent weeks, lost his footing.
That could have been a big play. That's another missed big play for ECU, because Jimmy Williams, if he keeps his feet, is one broken tackle away from gaining about 20 yards.
Remember, they had the touchdown over the top of the game's first play of the flea flicker that Cirque sailed long and tall to Grayson. On third down. Timing off there, looking for Quay Johnson. Leroy Godfrey, the linebacker, in coverage.
Leroy Godfrey in coverage for the Cougars. That'll bring up a fourth down.
And Scottie Montgomery will send his punt unit out. Would you even think about going for it here?
If it was a little bit shorter, I think you would.
Barnes on the punt.
ECU obviously doesn't have quite as much to lose, so I wouldn't rule a fake out at any time, especially in plus territory like this.
Barnes leads the American, averaging a little more than 43.5 per punt. Tumbling. McDowell, a fair catch at his own 18. Cougars getting it done on the ground.
Yeah, so far so good running the ball for King and Catalan and company. It was Catalan right, King left for a touchdown, and then one play drive, Catalan starts to his left, makes a cut back. One missed tackle later, he's in the end zone.
Major Applewhite, former quarterback in Texas, was the offensive coordinator here for Houston. Calling up a lot of runs. 8 of the 11 plays on the opening drive came on the ground. 79 of the 104 yards. Off the fake, King looking long for Dunbar. What a catch! Colby Gore in coverage, right on the money, and Dunbar brings it in clean.
Wow, and that was not only a really nice throw right over the shoulder, dropping that thing in, but Dunbar did a great job of not flashing his hands too soon and being able to get that thing right over the shoulder.
King again for Dunbar. Bracketed, and flags are down.
Yeah, it's going to be defensive holding. That was a double move. And on a double move, you want the DB to bite, and they bit.
The sophomore corner, Colby Gore.
Yeah, Colby Gore on the outside, working with Dunbar, and he grabs right in that double move area, and he's trailing. One of the reasons it's overthrown is that little tug slowed down Dunbar enough.
Blitz on up the gut, the keeper. And King veers out of bounds. They're in the red zone, another first down.
And a smart play by De'Eric King. Could have cut back, probably would have taken a shot, but he gets the yards. It's wide open, there's no contain. He pulls it, and he gets the yards he can get and gets out of bounds. He doesn't take an unnecessary shot.
Demonstrating more and more feel, his intellect highly heralded by his coaching staff. Carr, oh, what a pop. Aaron Ramseur, the redshirt freshman who has claimed a starting role during the season, pushed him back some.
Yeah, Ramseur in at linebacker. You know what linebackers do, John? They fill. That's a fill. You deal with the lead block, you shed the lead block, and then you fill. That was a great job by Ramseur.
Empty here. Sometimes screams quarterback run. King instead finds Dunbar. Has to make a move on Jordan Williams. Williams dispatches of him at the 16, gain of about 3.
Settling back into this pace again. Major Applewhite and company doing a nice job of getting these plays into De'Eric King.
Bonner in the near right slot.
Little recognition on blitz.
3-man rush. Dunbar launches and falls just short. Surrounded by 4 white jerseys.
ECU shows blitz. They drop into a zone, and King throws it right into the hole, into the zone.
Mulba Carr sandwiched. He'll lose about a yard. Tyree Owens in there, able to annihilate up front. Major Applewhite and his offense. Touchdown 71% of the time in the red zone this year.
Coach Applewhite will get fired up on you now. He's got some fire to him.
He's intense. Flag down.
False start. Offense. Number 2. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Duke Catalan had just come out of the field for Mobile Car.
This is what Applewhite refers to as an administrative error. You know, that's sort of a non-football error. That's a mental error. Catalan, just no reason to move like that. And those are the kind of errors that ideally, especially when you want to play with that great pace, can just ruin momentum for an offense.
One of the major talking points of head coach Major Applewhite this week. Team changing things up. He does have the latitude to do. Catalan, nothing. It was read well. Jordan Williams was there.
Really nice job here with their backs against the wall. ECU's defense dealing with Houston inside. Remember, this started down just about the 1 or just inside the 1. They have stuffed the run inside. Every opportunity that Houston's had so far.
8th play of the drive, trying to spread it out empty on 3rd and goal. Puts up with Courtney Lark for the score.
Well, there is a very nice read by De'Aaron King. He sees what he's going to get. His receiver Lark with a quick little slant beats the DB off the move, creates the space and the opportunity, and King delivers the ball.
De'Aaron King is one on the ground, one on the air, and Robert Prunty, defensive coordinator, head coach Scottie Montgomery, talk it over. Point after true. Robert Prunty called De'Aaron King Greg Ward reincarnated. His ability to sell the play fake and deliver on the money. On the mark with Lark, 21 zip.
There's your receiver right there. Watch this route real quick inside, and his quarterback does a beautiful job. He recognizes the space is created, and that's an easy pitch and catch. Nice job by Lark, though, with that physical matchup with the DB. Arm over inside, created that space. I mean, equally as great that King got him the ball, but that was all set up by Lark's physicality. Maybe it's part of those 30 pounds.
It could be. It could be. Time in the dorm room well spent. Touchback for Trayvon Brown. Get inside the mind of the most important position in sports as our roster of former pro quarterbacks break down Week 9 of the NFL. Catch NFL Monday QB delivered by FedEx Monday, 6 Eastern, right here on CBS Sports Network.
ECU so far only 23 yards. Has to stay on the field. And I know this Houston offense is explosive and has a lot of talent, but they'll even further wear out a defense if they're allowed to constantly be out there.
See if ECU can get some possession with Gardner Minshew at QB. A little tall for Quay Johnson, dragged down by Terrell Williams, who has a pick that sent Thomas Sirk to the sidelines.
Terrell Williams was jumping a pass again. He wasn't guessing. He saw it was a pass. He couldn't arrive quite quick enough, but plenty quick enough to be there in time to grab the receiver.
2nd and 2 for Minshew. With the blitz on, nothing there for Devin Anderson.
Guess who?
Right on the spot, Ed Oliver.
Yes, but Ed Oliver does well. Sometimes if you double team him, he'll do this. But when you've got a matchup on the outside, you better be wide open quick on a play like this, because you're going to get a face full of number 10, Ed Oliver, who runs right by an attempted block from Spellis.
Only a 3-man front, but a blitz is on for the secondary chasing Minshew. Fire to the sideline. Jimmy Williams, his staggered steps, makes the catch. Outstanding grab by Jimmy Williams.
Yeah, and that was all set up, though, by Minshew. He escapes the pocket, gets outside. Williams does a good job of tap dancing, getting 2 feet in. You can tell Williams isn't completely healthy. He doesn't have the best of balance at times, but that was sure good concentration.
Picks up 16 on 3rd and 5. We have reached the end of the first quarter, and it's all Houston smothering ECU. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by the Home Depot. And Houston, a thunderous advantage after 1. Here's a look at the American as it stands. Memphis, a victory over Tulsa last night. Tulsa handed Houston one of its unexpected defeats. And Memphis, though, with a win over SMU in a couple of weeks, could lock up the West, or could do so with some help. SMU's got a tough one with UCF today.
Yeah, don't forget, in a couple of weeks down the line around Thanksgiving, UCF and USF are still going to be meeting in a heck of a big game, because UCF figures to be undefeated still about that time.
The only undefeated team left in the group of 5. War on I-4, and a flag on the snap.
Ball starts. Offense. Number 85. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Here's star graduate student wide receiver Davon Grayson. Now, Grayson's been one of the unexpected stars in the American this year, averaging nearly 100 yards per game, 3rd best in the league. He missed last year when rehab for a back injury didn't take well, and he had a red shirt as a senior.
Yeah, Williams was a guy they thought was going to be their big star outside.
Grayson gets the ball, but gets popped by Isaiah Johnson. It's only a yard for all that physicality.
Well, Isaiah Johnson knows all about getting hit as a receiver. He just switched over from wide receiver to defensive back. Does a nice job filling up and sort of learning his trade under fire these last few weeks.
And some trouble grabbing the ball as a wide out. Secondary blitz is on. Back picks it up. Minshew looking long on a wobbler. Leaping bobble and drop by Trayvon Brown. Matched up with Alexander Myers.
Well, Alexander Myers still does a very nice job at the end. Myers kind of loses track of the receiver. But then at the end, watch how he finishes off the play on the ball. He's ripping arms and ripping ball, and he's going to be sure that ball's not going to be complete. Early part, not so good. Late part, very good.
Secondary had been thin for Houston, including Myers, transferred in from a smaller program. The stunt on, Minshew finds Quay Johnson, immediately tackled by Matthew Adams, who's finally healthy. That is good for the first down. Adams had been battling an ankle issue, only got 20 snaps in against USF and missed the prior 2.
Minshew gets a very comfortable pocket. He's able to pat the ball, step up into the throw, and it's a nice looking play accordingly.
And moving on the left side. And that's not Deontay Smith, but instead Justin Sandifer at left tackle, who we were told could be worked into that rotation.
Not a big one, but a little quiver.
So the JUCO transfer. It's another procedural penalty on this possession for ECU. Hassan Howe, he's in the slot near right, running back. That's where the blitz is shown and brought. The Howe, a little off target, and that leaves him prone. Terrell Williams makes the immediate tackle. How many yards get lost when the ball is just off by a hair?
Well, that almost eliminates the run after catch. So when you're throwing to a very athletic, gifted type player, probably at least 5. Most guys, they can make people miss. If you give them that opportunity, most receivers at this level will make the first guy miss.
Now in the backfield again. Mark D'Onofrio, DC for Houston, has shown some varied looks defensively early. Now into the flat, Minshew to Williams. Immediately popped by Terrell Williams. Houston's done a nice job arriving as the ball does.
Yeah, Terrell Williams specifically. Recognition, very key in that play. 23, Williams, He sees the play, he starts filling, and he fills right up into the receiver's legs. Williams isn't going anywhere with a lap full of safety, like especially the size of Williams, 6'3" and about 220 pounds.
ECU 2 of 5 on third down today. Minshew. Tumbling grab by Jimmy Williams. That's good for the first. They'll move the chains.
Going back to Williams, we talked about him being sort of the lead dog at the beginning of the year in the minds of the coaches. Couple back-to-back catches there for Williams. He taps the top of his helmet, says, I need a quick blow and a drink of water.
And Oliver just got that himself. He's now back in the game. Something Houston's trying to ration some. 10th play of the drive here. Trayvon Brown, the sweep. Flag down. He only gets a few. Tracy Jones.
Legal formation. Offense. 5 players in the backfield. 5-yard penalty.
The penalties derailing any sense of rhythm for Scottie Montgomery's offense.
Well, again, like you noted earlier, it's sort of a procedural thing. I mean, just you don't line up right. You jump early before the snap. Many times that's just attention to detail and discipline.
ECU averages 7 penalties a game. That's 94th in the country. Secondary fades. Minshew on 1st and 15. Getting a little greedy. Nearly picked off by Isaiah Johnson. And off target for Taj Deans.
There's Isaiah Johnson playing wide receiver. Not that long ago he was one. Look at him break on the ball. Oh, that was a great opportunity. Very nice instincts by Johnson. He's getting this DB thing down pretty quick.
It was the head coach, Major Applewhite's idea to move him over. DC Mark D'Onofrio told us this week he took to it pretty quickly. Al motions out. Minshew locked right side, checks down. Dangerous throw, and he somehow completes it to Davon Grayson. What a toss and what a grab.
Yeah, perfect placement. I mean, right on the outside number of Grayson, away from, you know, he's working on Johnson. That's no fault of Johnson. Johnson's right there, but that placement by Minshew right on the outside number, that was the one place where the DB could not contest it.
16-yard pickup. Trayvon Brown. A stiff arm to Garrett Davis as he hops out of bounds. It feels like the run game has been abandoned.
Well, I'm sure if you're a member of the ECU defense, though, you're a big fan of this many plays being run by your defense, keeping the other offense off the field. And here, you got to get points. And I don't mean field goal. I mean, you get in the red zone in this situation, you got to have a touchdown.
Quay Johnson, 2 blocks there, including Jimmy Williams. Out of bounds inside the 5 and the 3.
They're going to mark it actually on the 6. Little hesitation step. I think his right foot must have hit that line during that hesitation step.
Now 14th play of the drive. Jimmy Williams stood up and ripped down. Alexander Myers was on the opposite side, back to his own end zone, and was able to rip him down.
Jimmy Williams could have had a touchdown, I think, if he puts his head down and goes inside. He stays outside, go inside, put your head down and drive. But again, Williams not completely healthy, hasn't played a huge volume of snaps this year so far.
Thomas Sirk is back in at quarterback.
That puts the run back in play. Minshew very much more of a passer. Sirk loves to run.
3rd and goal. And he's blown up. Yards.
Well, we weren't surprised, and obviously the Houston defense and their defensive coordinator, D'Onofrio, also not surprised. Bring the blitz, get the penetration, and swarm that quarterback.
Leroy Godfrey was the first to arrive. So now 21-0, field goal unit out. The holder is punter Austin Barnes. And Thomas Sirk back into the game after losing yardage. Jake Verity to try to get ECU on the board.
Yeah, I think one of the worst stats in college football is percentage of scoring inside the 20. The heck with percentage of scoring. Give me percentage of touchdowns, because it doesn't seem like a touchdown when you got to kick a field goal.
22-yarder, the chippy hit by Verity, but Sirk overwhelmed by Houston. Cougars on the roll. Cougars all over ECU, 21-3. De'Ara King, a giant part of the offensive. And for more, let's check in with Tina.
And John, I asked De'Ara King what making his first start at quarterback meant to him, and you could tell he was getting emotional. He said it is a big deal. He was just trying to treat it as a regular game, but feels really prepared because this was the first time all season that he attended only quarterbacks meetings all week. He usually went to wide receivers or specialties, and he said he was really able to dive into the game plan, John.
De'Ara King soaking all of that up. We appreciate it, Tina.
He's making this decision look pretty good, made by Major Applewhite and the staff. You know, Allen and Potsma have shared the starting duties. King finally healthy, making him look pretty smart.
And the longest pass completion of the season on the last scoring drive. This kick yields a touchback. Let's take a look at today's Sonic quarterback comparison. Greg Ward rewrote the record book for Houston, 93 career touchdowns, now with a practice squad with the Philadelphia Eagles as a wide receiver. Very similar makeup, similar background in the early stage of their college career, converted wide receivers.
A heck of a compliment to De'Ara King. He'd probably be the first one to tell you a little far out over your skis if you're comparing he and Greg Ward at this point too much, but I'm sure he loves that compliment.
Run element that he brings so significant. Play fake. One-on-one. Dunbar climbs the ladder and wins the ball. Rips it off the helmet of Marcus Holton. Spectacular catch.
Tell you, De'Ara King can spin that thing. That's what he does here. He spins it out there. He puts it up where his defense, his receiver can go get it. Dunbar's looking at it. The defensive back isn't. It's not a contest.
42-yard hookup. Dunbar, one of the few holdovers from the great Houston teams the last couple of years. King uncorking that arm again. Wide open, Bonner drives out of bounds. He thought he had a score. They're going to mark him out at the 4. Colby Gore popped him there. 39 yards.
Yeah, little lost in communication somewhere in this defensive backfield for ECU. No way Bonner or any receiver should be that wide open. Just does step out.
Mobile Carr showing some shape with his size. Rumbles to nearly the 1. It's shocking because Linnell Bonner entered the game leading Houston in catches. Whistles before the snap to get a timeout in.
That's when you know you're doing your pace right. Big play, get back up, get back on the ball, make them take a timeout to get their defense the right way. A lot of positive things right here from Major Applewhite and his new quarterback, De'Ara King. And the pace of the offense, I think, in Applewhite's mind is probably, along with the execution, obviously, a real highlight so far.
But as you mentioned, Randy, something that perhaps gets overlooked by many, De'Ara King, despite his stature, has a very strong arm, and his offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, was quick to point out his release so high, it almost adds a few inches to his frame. It's like he's 6 feet tall when he releases the ball. Yeah, and
I've seen 6'6" quarterbacks that don't have much touch. They just have cannon and arm. This kid's 5'11", and he's already showed you more touch than a lot of great big arm throwers.
They've run off the right side quite a bit on the day, where Natai Rogers is the right tackle. Carr instead off left guard. Thunders in for a touchdown.
Working over that left side. Jones and Williams, Noble at the center position. Look at him clear a hole. Carr, though, There's a guy that's got that, he's got power down in the kitchen. You look at the core and the legs, there's the difference. That's where all that power comes from.
Well, you know me, I'll be wherever the kitchen is, so.
Not saying Catalan doesn't have it, but he has more.
Novikov drills the point after. The Eric King able to hook up for a couple of deep. Tosses over 30 yards on 2 passes. Volmakar pays it off, powering a path to Vader. Coming up on the halftime report, powered by Ram Trucks. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, Christian Fourier, Aaron Murray stand by in our New York studio. We'll get you covered on all the day's highlights and have you prepped for the rest of the action on this busy college football Saturday. It's the halftime report, powered by Ram Trucks. Volmakar, like a truck, plowed into the end zone for a touchdown. A 28-3 advantage. The young man went to high school in Austin, Texas, but born and grew up in the early part of his childhood in Liberia. Didn't have much of a football background. Last year, Greg Ward would have to line him up where he was supposed to be on particular plays. He's got a feel.
I'd say he's got the water. He's figured this thing out.
Trayvon Brown. Trayvon Brown with a little slither. And he earns the 23 as we go downstairs to Tina Cervasio for more on the Houston offensive front.
Yeah, John, after that scoring drive, head coach Major Applewhite was screaming at the team coming off the field. Great job O-line, great job offensive line. And then after a little while, when everyone got settled on the bench, he went over, shook each one of the offensive linemen's hands. And he's a really intense coach, and we got to see that up close in our meetings yesterday. But these were legit happy emotions coming from Applewhite.
Appreciate that, Tina. And we did see a smirk from him when we brought up Ed Oliver's name. He smiled.
Which made Ed Oliver smile when we mentioned that to him.
Minshew at quarterback. And the run for Darrell Scott. Cuts to the 29. And last drive, 13 of the 15 plays in the air. Also 15 penalty yards.
You got to make your hay now. You've got the right matchups. 3 linemen, and none of them Ed Oliver for Houston.
Minshew throws that one in the turf. Pressure was on. Houston's bringing blitzers from all over the field.
Yeah, in that case, that was pretty much just a down line situation. You had guys right in his face. You know, you're only bringing 3. You'll only see 3 guys with their hands in the ground for Houston. Anybody else that comes is a safety or a blitzer. Could have a blitz coming off the left side of the offense here.
Wade Johnson motions. Minshew finds Jimmy Williams. One of his better throws today. Leroy Godfrey wraps him up at the 42. They pick up a dozen.
Jimmy Williams getting some real quality reps here in this game, and he's taking advantage of nice matchups and good defensive fronts. When he's open, he's wide open.
Only had 18 grabs on the year entering today, thanks to his variety of injury. Godfrey on the blitz, they pick it up. Quay Johnson needs to make a move, and he does. Eludes Terrell Williams, gets over midfield, and that'll be good for a first.
Yeah, that's nice for Quay Johnson on the outside, and an excellent job by Minshew. Just rearing up quick, just gripping the ball. The heck with the laces. Grab it any way you can get it out to your skilled guy.
Creeping pressure from McBoulay, backside. Oh, what push, spin, and grab by Trayvon Brown, matched up with Jeremy Winchester.
And a defensive line change-up. Oliver and company back into the game. Now they've crossed the 50. Got the first series or so of this drive off, trying to assert some pressure and stop to the D. Minshew on a bit of a roll.
Just picked up 14 yards. But Oliver's return changed that. He gets doubled. Minshew checking down, looking long for Brown. Somehow makes the grab. Trayvon Brown, touchdown, as Winchester lost his footing. 34-yard scoring strike.
As good as that was by Brown, This is about Minshew and where he puts this ball. Watch the placement. Puts it outside. Brown does a beautiful job of anticipating the ball being out there, but everybody just sort of spinning around as Brown goes to the end zone.
Minshew gets ECU its first touchdown with that pass. Jake Verity nails the point after. ECU in dire need of a touchdown. They're able to find it. The backup QB off the bench. Gardner Minshew with his throw of the day. Trayvon Brown pays it off.
Football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's. Perfect. And by Sonic. Try Sonic's new Car Hop Classic now, featuring a foot-long coney.
What a scene in downtown Houston as the Astros claimed the World Series and over 1 million people flooded downtown. They got so many more than they forecasted, they had to extend the parade route by multiple city blocks.
Is there an area of the country that deserves a world champion more than this area after Hurricane Harvey and everything they went through? I mean, this place has recovered amazing, and to get a World Series like that was just something to see.
A touchback for ECU, as they also have a pretty talented quarterback these days for the Houston Cougars.
Yep, the early line on De'Ara King was, yeah, he can run pretty good, and we've seen him run around pretty well, but man, this kid can throw the ball. He's got really nice accuracy, good high release, and he's getting some nice support from the guys around him.
He's had time in the pocket, more pass heavy than running independently, although his running backs have certainly helped him out. And Houston has scored on 4 of its first 5 possessions to begin this game. And King lead them down the field once again. The band trickling onto the sidelines for its halftime show. Bonner, he was dead to rights to lose a yard, and he somehow finds it.
That's why when you get the ball the right way to a good skill player, you asked about an errant throw. When you get it to him in the right spot, you can turn a -1 into a +1 just by having the ability to make people miss.
They're down some bodies in their wide receiver core. Catalan cuts it back. Assembled by Tyree Owens, Kendall Futrell. The biggest loss today, John Leday, who stars most significantly as the kick returner, but had to become a bigger part of an offensive cog as a receiver, top 4 on the team in catches.
And you figured De'Ara King was the guy who was going to replace him with an injury, so they have to go a little deeper on the depth chart.
King, a wide receiver during most of the year. The line holds up, that toss a little low, crossing Stephen Dunbar.
Now here's one on De'Ara King. That little bit on the way from mechanics. Watch how stiff-legged he is here. And he doesn't really step into it. Part of it is the pass rush he's getting in his face. But being stiff-legged and not stepping into it, that's why the ball is errant.
Second 3 and out for the Cougars. Now the 6'7", 240-pound punter, Dane Roy.
Who can leave that ball in the air if you give him a chance. He can hang it.
Booming kick, Wade Johnson. The fair catch in zone 27. 44-yard punt for the Aussie. And ECU with a couple of timeouts. 4 minutes, 20 seconds has the ball back. 28-10, Houston Cougars on top. Major Applewhite on top of the world. He's got his own dish right here in Houston at BB's Cafe, the Applewhite. Catfish, crawfish, shrimp, garlic bread, dirty rice, and white rice.
Only one thing needs to be added to that.
What's that?
Bacon.
Oh, well, it makes everything better, right?
Chopped bacon.
He's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Randy Cross once upon a time had a burger named after him.
Canyon Inn, Redwood City. A little bit of everything. And a beer.
I'm in. Gardner Minshew Flicks it out, Darius Penix, who's been fairly silent today. Running backs have not been involved much. So 33 plays run by ECU, all but 5 have been in the air. They're 5 runs by 5 different runners for a net of -1. But Gardner Minshew has found some rhythm in the air.
I hesitate to mention this, but pretty impressive tackling by Houston so far defensively.
And there's a run for Penix, who was recruited as a linebacker. But the first time his head coach, Scottie Montgomery, saw him, he told the defensive staff, "You're crazy. He is a born running back, and I'm stealing him for the offense."
He runs with power and attitude.
Penix again, another yard. His offensive coordinator, Tony Peterson, said that Darius Penix might be their most improved player. And these are the numbers that he assembled playing both sides of the football in high school. Tackle machine, living in the backfield, almost 5,000 yards as well.
He runs like a linebacker. That's the key to what makes him appealing, I think, to this staff.
He releases late. Minshew off his back foot, completes to Quay Johnson. Shouldered down by Joel Williams, the linebacker. And Minshew continues to have a field. A 21-yard hookup.
How about that pass by Minshew? He's not necessarily even stepping up, but the anticipation and the placement were perfect.
And here's ECU running a little bit of tempo. How flea flicker. Minshew launching for nobody. Isaiah Johnson loses the football. And that's why he got converted at corner.
Yeah, that's exactly why you become a DB from wide receiver. Go back to the exact same throwback that didn't work the first game when it was so wide open. Better just to slather that sucker with mustard and eat it, or throw it out of bounds. But throw it up there in the way of a possible turnover.
Our officials are huddled up at midfield. Referee Tracy Jones drops a flag now.
Back to the ground. Offense. Number 5. Spot foul. Lost it down. 3rd down.
Second time in as many weeks in the American. We saw it with Memphis Tulane last week. That a throw deep downfield, not leaving the tackle box. Quay Johnson was a decent path away from this ball. Take a look.
Well, look just slightly to the right where the ball comes down. Where is the jersey in white? No one in the picture. Quarterback in the pocket. Good call.
It continues to hamstring ECU today.
That'll put a hiccup in the drive. A down in yard.
Off the fake. Dangerous look. Somehow finds Howe. Hassan Howe driven out of bounds by Garrett Davis.
Yeah, Howe doing a nice job of weaving through there, but also dumping that thing off. He had some nice blocks in front of him. Minshew delivers it. Look at the O-line in front of him. Not crushing blocks, but enough bumps and defense to get in that extra space to run.
17-yard gain. Needing 5 for a first. Minshew wide open. Davon Grayson, and he's got the first down. Joel Williams part of the pair with DeJuan Hines to silence him.
Yeah, really nice awareness, too, by Grayson at the end of this play. Watch when he catches it and starts to run. He looks up at the sticks and makes sure he falls forward past the first down.
It's a homecoming of sorts for Grayson. He grew up in Suffolk, Virginia, but he has a lot of extended family here in Houston. Stepfather, Keith Hasker, longtime military man. His mom and dad are here today. Quay Johnson taken out by Joel Williams. Grayson credits his stepfather, Keith Hasker, with straightening out his life, helping him get on track, and probably also a major mentor during that year of rehab when he had a redshirt all of his senior year. After his back injury, did not take to the initial rehab efforts. They go empty.
Haven't heard much out of Ed Oliver in a while.
Ow. Lasso driven down by Austin Robinson. Converted safety. He's been getting more time at linebacker when Matthew Adams is banged up. And we'll get a timeout here as ECU had some massive personnel change.
Yeah, Scottie Montgomery's game plan has done a very nice job of mixing things up and primarily spinning that ball out of Minshew's hand pretty doggone quick. Not really, they're allowing for a chance of pressure, but for pressure to be ineffective because of the speed with which the ball is leaving the pocket.
Scottie Montgomery's offense, top 25 in the country, passing the football. He was a receiver back in his Duke days. Finished top 3 in catches and receiving yards. Had a stint in the pros, time with the Panthers, Broncos, Raiders, and the AFL's Georgia Force. Helped to mentor Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Was a Duke assistant for 7 years. Currently in year 2 as the head man of the Pirates. And his big mantra this week, talking about the lack of team speed that his Pirates have. And they've been trying to get creative in finding ways around it. He said that's what resonates about the best teams in the American, teams like Houston. The team speed, particularly on the perimeter, is next level.
Oh, you look at the abbreviated school, UCF, USF. Look at Houston, you look at Memphis. They're all about speed. This conference is all about speed.
3rd down and 2. Could Power find the first? Into the flat for Penix. He's got the first down. Isaiah Johnson corrals the running back.
And that's Johnson down on the ground. Took the worst of that hit with Penix.
Clutching immediately at that left arm. Looks to be almost dead weight. Athletic training staff helps him to his feet.
Size, 195 pounds. No way of telling just from watching that, but the only way you can tell is he's not comfortable on the ground.
He's forced to the sideline, still a little movement from that left arm.
If he's starting, he's out there. I'm going after whoever replaces him if I'm throwing.
Penix schemes a run to the 8-yard line. Now keep in mind that Houston is without Khalil Williams, outside backer who was seeing time at safety to help in the secondary. He hurt his ankle this week, is in a boot on the sidelines today. 12th play of the drive here, under a minute. Minshew fires the play. Johnson's going to lose yards. There's the tackling you're talking about. Finding it in space.
Yeah, they've been doing a very nice job today of the first guy being an effective tackler. You saw Johnson do it on Penix the play before.
Another timeout called by ECU. So the Pirates are now out of timeouts, 38 seconds.
We haven't seen much out of Ed Oliver. We spent a lot of time talking about him earlier. We did show that one shot he took earlier, that little message that ECU sent. And I think it's mission accomplished. They've double-teamed him a lot. He took that shot low at his legs. Not that that slowed him down particularly, but they've done a really nice job of game planning specifically to stop that All-American defensive nose guard.
What has helped, though, Mark D'Onofrio told us that his defensive line as healthy as it's been all season. They got Gerard Carter back, who had only played 1 game all year. He tweaked it when he tried to come back against Tulsa. It was an ankle foot injury he suffered in the spring when he broke it, and then re-broke it after he came back during camp. Out of a timeout. Minshew. Swarmed down and sacked. Leroy Godfrey gets his 2nd sack of the campaign, and that's a biggie.
You're going to see Oliver come outside. inside off a game, the defensive end comes around, and that's who sacks the quarterback. That's a really nice concept. Keeping it, staying in those lanes and bringing heat.
37-yard field goal try after a loss of 8 on the sack. Verity is hit from 22 today. And this time, no sir. Jake Verity's 6th field goal miss of the year, and the sack by Leroy Godfrey keeps the Pirates off the board entirely on the possession. That's the end of the first half. After the break, it's back to Brent and the gang in New York City. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by the Home Depot. All Cougars at the break.
You are watching the CBS Sports Network Halftime Report, powered by Ram Trucks.
It's a spirited group here at halftime. Welcome in Brent Stover, Houston Nut Christian Fourier, Aaron Murray as well at the break in Houston. All Cougars in this one, Coach.
All Cougars except for that last drive. ECU was marching the ball down the field. Everybody executing. Needed a kicker to make the 3 points and get a little momentum. But it's been Duke Catalon. I want you to watch this play. This young man's having a good day. He's going to take the ball right here. Everybody does an excellent job of blocking. They get him on the corner. Makes that guy miss right there, and now breaks the tackle, outruns everybody in the end zone. Big play.
Outstanding. 7 carries, 57 yards for him. De'Ara King, the quarterback, 11 of 14 for a $161 and a touchdown.
Cougar statues abound on this gorgeous campus where the Houston Cougars are on top of ECU comfortably, 28-10. Second half play about to get underway. We welcome you on back. John Sadak, the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross. And we take a look at today's Wrangler first half stats. A giant chasm on the ground between these two teams.
Yeah, there really is. But if it wasn't for Minshew, for ECU coming in for Cirque the when he did, he's had a lot of success throwing the ball. And I think that is what's got ECU in this game right now. For Houston, and Major Applewhite, their head coach, just keep doing what you're doing. And that means De'Ara King not only running the ball, but also throwing the ball. Their pace really worked for them. The play calling and accuracy augmented everything else. And like I said, for ECU, Gardner Minshew, he's thrown some passes that have been about as nice and as pretty a passes as we've seen anybody throw this year as far as accuracy goes.
Already Minshew with 31 attempts of ECU's 45 plays, 36 came in the air. Minshew came on for ECU's third possession, and he gave them a lot of rhythm. The bulk of their damage came in the second quarter. 31 of their 45 plays, 204 of their nearly 250 yards of offense in the second quarter with Minshew as the quarterback.
And the only period where they really had any credibility running the ball was when Penix was in the game, briefly.
A touchback as we check in with Tina Servasio, who had word with the two head coaches.
And head coach of Houston, Major Applewhite, he said he wants his secondary to perform better. They're giving up too many balls over the top. They need a better job locating the ball. Now, offensively, he likes the rhythm De'Ara King established early in the game. But here in the second half, expect them to run the ball more on first and second downs in order to get that rhythm back. ECU head coach Scottie Montgomery said that Gardner Minshew will start and play here in the third quarter. He likes the way he's distributing the ball and making big plays on third down, but still expect Thomas Cirque in certain situations.
We appreciate that, Tina. We saw him in that third and goal situation that Houston read beautifully and thundered him back for a loss. Missed field goal followed. Trayvon Brown able to lunge between a couple of tacklers. He picks up 11 in the first. Emeka Egbule, the linebacker, part of the coverage there.
No signs so far coming back here in the second half of Isaiah Johnson. We saw go out of the game with a limp left arm towards the end of the second quarter.
Cornerback for Houston. Penix brings that physicality and rumbles the shoulder into Reggie Chevis. That's a 6'2", 290-pound defensive lineman that transferred in from Texas A&M.
Going backwards. When Penix plows into him, drops that right shoulder into him. Went from a gain of 2 to a gain of 5.
Ed Oliver out on this play. Brown again attacking the right side, and Myers. Stiff arm rides him out of bounds.
The ECU's done a very nice job of nibbling on the edges. That's not necessarily running on the edges, but nibbling on the edges with their pass game. They're getting quite a bit of pad on this outside. That's what's enabling them to do that and complete so many quick passes.
Hard cadence, nearly got Houston to jump. You're getting me to jump with all these food analogies, references to the kitchen, to nibbling. I'll be ready for dinner. Minshew, play fake, Quay Johnson. Gets a couple of blocks and dashes out of bounds. Garrett Davis helped shoulder him out of play. We mentioned Ed Oliver off the field on these last couple of snaps. They've been using him more at the start of drives and once the opponent crosses into the 40, 30-yard range. He's played 32 of the 45 snaps.
When you have an opponent like this, you game plan for when he's off the field.
Secondary blitz on, and Penix finds a small gap and rips right through.
For instance, no Ed Oliver, who now runs back into the field right in the middle of your offensive line. You let Spellacy, the center and company, get Penix those little tough yards inside. If you've got a presence inside like Oliver, you probably don't call that last play. But he's back on the field.
Remember, John Spellacy, the center, a true freshman. Able to handle Oliver here, giving Minshew time. Too long. Looking for Davon Grayson, who got a little physical with Terrell Williams. Winchester was primarily in coverage there. Minshew's not gun-shy about letting it fly deep.
Oh, no, he's not. He's not even close. And the best thing about him throwing it deep, he will back shoulder his receiver, and he's got the accuracy to pull it off.
Remember, no Messiah Rice today, starting left tackle, dismissed from the program for ECU, violation of athletic department policy. Cutback, not smooth for Penix, and Ed Oliver not only gives him a lick, but gives him some talking chops thereafter, too.
Well, that's another thing about knowing your personnel. If you got Ed Oliver in the game, cutting back into the middle of the field, probably not the best idea. Ed Oliver himself is listed as 6'3" and about 290 pounds.
His arms are massive when we met with him this week. Tree trunks coming off his shoulder. Eighth play of the drive.
Weight rooms will do that.
I think he's no stranger to pounding the iron. Soft secondary, four-man rush. Minshew flicks it out to Penix. He'll be stone shy. DeJuan Hines, part of the gathering, along with Joel Williams.
Yeah, nice job by Hines and Williams, sort of high-lowing Penix here. Minshew's got nowhere to go. Good coverage down the field. Has to just dump it off and hope Penix can get him those yards. But there's a good dual tackle setting up this 4th and short that ECU is going to go for.
Opponents 10 of 16 against Houston on 4th down. That's 106th in America. They've not been good. Got a couple of stops against USF last week. Minshew. That pass might have been deflected, and he still finds his man for the first down, Davon Grayson.
Wow. Quick snap, quick throw. Look how fast he gets the ball out of his hands. He just grabs it and throws it. Play that ball on Grayson. I mean, right on his chest.
They sweep. And Grayson right into Garrett Davis. Gets an extra few after the pop to the 25, gain of 4.
Yeah, if Scottie Montgomery over on the ECU sideline had to draw up how he wanted this second half to go and start, this would have been it.
They overload to the near right. Trips plus the back, Hassan Howe. Space for Quay Johnson. He gets shoved out of play by Austin Robinson. They've got the red zone to the 15.
Best way to describe Quay Johnson is he's kind of sudden, isn't he? I mean, when he makes a move, he just suddenly isn't there. That's a good example of probably being covered up pretty good defensively, but that suddenness bottom 5 yards.
Off the fake, Johnson again loses the football.
Was
and
that
it's
backwards?
incomplete. The ruling is incomplete live as Austin Robinson fell on the free football.
Yeah, that wasn't backwards. That's a good call.
13th play of the drive. ECU had a 7+ minute drive late in the first half, its longest of the year by time, keeping Houston's vaunted offense off the field. And De'Ara King. Minshew again falling away, completes the toss. DeAndre Farrier, the rare grab.
Well, that was a really, really nice job by Minshew. You got to be impressed by this guy because he got a face full of Ed Oliver on that pass rush. Oliver planted him into the ground, but he still got that ball off to the receiver.
The resolve of Minshew has been significant, driving toward the Houston student section. 50% on third down today. Minshew finds Brown. Trayvon Brown, the will to score. Touchdown. Carried some Cougars with him, his second touchdown grab of the day.
There you go. You take an 18-point deficit at halftime, and for Scottie, Montgomery, and company, they're about to narrow that down to an 11 play because their quarterback has got the poise, he's got the accuracy, and Mr. Brown just will not be denied. That's just all want to there.
Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Pass-heavy push. And Trayvon Brown, who entered with 3 TDs on the year, has 2 this afternoon.
It's a scoring play, so they're reviewing that.
Scottie Montgomery just wants to get that ball in the air and get his touchdown firm. Paul Zukis, our replay official.
Yeah, what they're looking at is was the knee or something down before that ball actually creases the goal line. Check out the legs. Is he down now? No, the ball's over. I think they're going to have a hard time. Remember, it was called a touchdown. Can't be overturned. Not enough evidence. Okay.
So the call confirmed. And the point after true. Look out for ECU. It was all Houston at the start. But East Carolina University on the push. It's an NFL on CBS doubleheader tomorrow. First, Denver collides with the NFL's hottest team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Then the Chiefs take on the Cowboys and Big D. It all begins with the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines at 12 Eastern. And a connection to Dallas, Dak Prescott, coached by Brian Johnson, the QB coach at Mississippi State, now the offensive coordinator with Houston. Brian Johnson, a unique story in his own right. At age 16, committed to Utah. Saw the field as a 17-year-old as a backup to Alex Smith. Became the starter at age 18. Was first a coach, Randy, at 22 and a coordinator at 24. Now 30 years old. His second go-round.
18 years as an assistant coach in major college football. That's pretty amazing when you're 30 years old.
And there is Gardner Minshew, the junior, the JUCO transfer. It's a big part of why ECU has made this a ball game. The kick for a touchback. Today's Jimmy John's Freaky Fast player of the game, ECU middle linebacker Jordan Williams. Those numbers outstanding. The former walk-on who leads the team in tackles on the year and leads the game today.
He's been doing a heck of a job. The problem that ECU's had hasn't been so much in between the tackles. It's they've given up a lot of yards on the outside. They have creased them and gotten the edges, and the running game's been really effective for Houston outside.
And De'Ara King made his first start at quarterback. Now begins the second with a great play fake in Dunbar. Flat foot race. Stephen Dunbar, touchdown. 75 yards, and again, Bobby Fulp gets burnt.
That was a beautiful play call by Major Applewhite and company. It's a run-pass option. It looks like a run. King rears up and delivers the ball perfectly to Dunbar. One missed tackle later. See you later, bye.
And Marcus Holton had the whiff launch, and then Fulp was trying to stick stride for stride with Dunbar. And Fulp, though, has been playing with a variety of injuries this year and had no chance. As soon as ECU seemingly clawed back in, Houston immediate response. De'Ara King, the play fake, and Dunbar takes it to the house. 75 yards. Cougars on the prowl.
All right, there's Dunbar. Here he is on the outside. Check this out, what happened inside. You get the H-back. He's going to motion. The offensive line's going that way with the run look. And that leaves Dunbar really with that quick little motion right there. Never really much of a chance even at a tackle. Defense is in zone. Very soft coverage. Dunbar gets a nice little walk in the park for 70-plus yards touchdown.
Longest grab of his career. Best day of his career. 171 yards receiving for Stephen Dunbar. It smashes the mark he set back in 2014 when he had 150 against Tulsa. Brown. Beats the kicker. Tripped up by Caden Novikov.
Oh, look at Brown. He knows. Never let the kicker be the guy that trips you up. If you've got nothing but green in front of you, the only red left is the guy that kicked it. You just want to pull that carpet over your head and hide yourself for a while.
48-yard run back. He knows that he might have snapped one of the longest routes going in college football. It's been a while since special teams have resulted in scores for ECU. On the shovel. Ball secured, and we go downstairs to Tina.
Major Applewhite went up to Stephen Dunbar after that touchdown, and he said that's the way to do it. Then he brought in all the wide receivers. He says this is how we have to do it. We have to stop giving away points by making stupid mistakes, John.
Well, thank you, Tina. He is a very direct head coach.
Hands-on, maybe?
Yes. He lets you know where you stand and what he expects. Godfrey showing blitz. He comes. They throw that way. Taj Deans. Terrell Williams drives him out of play inside the 30. It's only Dean's fourth catch of the year. The freshman picks up 12.
I know one thing Major Applewhite won't be happy with, and that's how his defense is getting off blocks right now. Because especially on the outside with those little short screens, those little flip outs to the outside, they're getting blocked and they're staying blocked.
Devin Anderson. Now this time the push from the line. Peyton Turner, stellar freshman who entered the year at about 240 pounds, is already around 260. Let's take a look at what's happened recently for ECU on the last 4 possessions for Scottie Montgomery's unit.
Yeah, should have been all points.
And remember the missed field goal. They made a quarterback switch on down and goal. They had the ball at one point at the 1. And on 3rd and goal from the 5, they lost yards. Long look, but hard contact after the incompletion as Deans got walloped by Terrell Williams.
Yeah, the ball was not catchable. Clear to see that that catch wasn't going to be made, and there was no reason for Williams to finish him off like that. Question now is it going to be targeted?
That's part of the dialogue here. Referee Tracy Jones
Yeah, it's that forceful action into the chest, but you saw right at the moment of contact a little dip of the head by Williams. That could be the one thing that gets him in trouble.
Now, as Tracy Jones mentioned, all targeting calls are reviewed, so Paul Zukas upstairs is going to take a look. Did you see targeting?
You know, I think it was unnecessary. Now, was it exclusively, you know, a lower the head and put the head into the chest? Check it out. Not going to be caught. It was a shoulder. Remember, it doesn't have to be the crown of the helmet.
Doesn't have to be the impacting players, yes.
It can be a tackle that they call it forcible action, that, you know, they're just going in and making that smash with that shoulder and forearm into the chest. That's what they're looking for, is that action right there. I think the fact that he didn't really need to do it, and the fact that he laid a pretty good lick right in his chest, might get him to heave-ho.
And remember, if targeting is upheld here, Terrell Williams would be out for the remainder of this game and would miss the first half of ECU's upcoming ball game against Tulane. Now, the rule on the field targeting, here's Tracy Jones.
There was no foul for targeting. The contact was in the chest. The unnecessary roughness will be enforced half the distance to the goal line. Automatic first down.
So Terrell Williams stays in the game. Remember, they're seemingly down Isaiah Johnson. We've had no word,
right,
but he had the arm issue earlier in the contest. And also Khalil Williams, listed as a linebacker, but had been playing more safety and helping that secondary, is out today with an ankle injury suffered during the week.
It's not ruled to be the forcible action involved or necessary, plus was not a blow to the head, it was a blow to the chest.
And our own Tina Servasio giving us word that Isaiah Johnson is available to return. So he has not been ruled out. We've not seen him yet. They've got Winchester at corner currently, and actually, there he is on the far side at the 10-yard line. He is the outside corner. Isaiah Johnson on the field. Minshew, the subtle fake, launching and throws it away. Flag down. And Des Barmore slow to get up.
Offense, number 74, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Justin Sandifer, who's filling in at left tackle today, but Barmore, the left guard, is injured.
Barmore actually lined up at the right guard position, and that was Oliver actually putting a shoulder pad into his shin area. Went down on the ground and limping off the field.
Now, you asked Scottie Montgomery this week, the off week after BYU, you had a lot of injured players. Who did it help the most? He said our offensive front. But they're down Messiah Rice, kicked out of the program today for a violation of athletic department policy. They just got Deontay Smith back, and now Barmore limps away.
Hopefully it's not anything that's going to keep him off the field too long. That shoulder into the shin can be painful.
Option ball free! Egbule says thank you. And Minshew stops the forward progress. No whistle yet. Now they blare.
Now, was that a forward pass? I know it was just a quick little bat and a shovel, but was it forward? Because it's ruled to be forward. It would be an incomplete pass.
And that's exactly what Scottie Montgomery was just mouthing.
Okay, where does he release it? He's on that. No, it's backwards. It's backwards. It was back to about the 30, and he got the ball in his hands at the 29 and kind of shoveled it back towards the back. I think in review, this will be ruled at worst case, a lateral, but it did go back, I believe.
It's the 5th lost fumble for ECU, which has a pick, now the fumble. Mulbacar gets about 3.
With those quick strikes, it seems like a while we've seen this Houston offense get that kind of pace going and that rhythm, hasn't it?
Yeah, ECU has done a solid job since mid-second quarter of posting some lengthier drives, and Houston's been so darn efficient. A couple of one-play scoring drives today. Eric King on the roll. Looking longer. Bonner wide open again. Liddell Bonner plummets into the end zone. "62 yards. They do it again.
That's the Achilles heel of this defense. 1 or 2 play drives and giving up those big plays. Going to put Minshew and company right back on the field again. Whoa, is Bonner wide open or what? On that crossing pattern coming over from the offense's right.
The walk-on who earned a scholarship in advance of the 2015 season. The team's leading pass catcher entering today, gets his 4th touchdown grab of the year. The free football on the option pitch. And Houston up 42-17. Time now for Experian protecting the pocket.
Not only protecting it, how about moving it? You bring it right out here. You're worried about the drop back? No problem. Move the pocket. Oh, they moved Dunbar too. Got him wide open. Somehow they find a way to lose track of probably the most effective receiver Houston's had in a while.
3 plays in the third quarter, 140 yards in 53 seconds. The Cougars, Randy, have run 33 total plays in the game. 6 have been touchdowns.
In case you're curious out there, that's a very good ratio.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
Makes that changeover to Eric King look pretty good. His teammates have really answered the call.
They don't want Trayvon Brown to have a chance to run it back, so an up man makes the fair catch in Penix. A little surprised he wouldn't take a chance. Running back who's got some power and a little bit of shake to him.
I think he's been coached to do that. You get a pooch, catch it. Don't worry about returning it.
So Scottie Montgomery's team riding Minshew, who's 35 of 42 for 314 yards.
Well, let's be honest, both defenses have struggled pretty well with these offenses. It hasn't just been Houston's offense that's been dynamic. Minshew and company have done a really nice job.
Play fake to Darrell Scott, Quay Johnson. Oh my goodness. Hit on high by Brandon McDowell. McDowell, the transfer out of Texas State, used more on punt return. They're forced to integrate him into the secondary this week due to being thin with injury, and man, he makes a play.
Well, another good example of effective tackling. Wrapping him up, grabbing him around the upper body, and slamming him to the ground.
Not bad for the utility man of the defense, Quay Johnson. Slips right through the whiff of McDowell. Isaiah Johnson lost his footing on the edge.
Well, Isaiah Johnson lost his footing because he was being blocked on the outside by Grayson very, very well. Watch Grayson out there dealing with Isaiah Johnson. That set up that game. That was a very nice block.
12-yard pickup. ECU continues to rotate running backs. Darrell Scott getting the look here. He's one of the 4 they've employed today. Farrier in motion. Off the play fake, Grayson lost his footing, immediately hit. Austin Robinson the tackle as we go to New York City. An update on the Bulldogs and the Minutemen with Brent Stover. Well, we appreciate that, and there are ties to Mississippi State here at Houston. Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson spent a couple of years as the QB coach. Dak Prescott was under center and in shotgun. Long look, tip ball. That was an interception for Brandon McDowell right off his hands.
Yeah, that was probably, well, outside of the long pass that was ruled grounding, the least accurate ball that we've seen Minshew throw. That one should have gone back the other way.
There's got to be such mounting building pressure, right? He's the backup as it is. He was plucked off the bench. He gave them a little bit of momentum, and now the score continues to seesaw in Houston's favor.
That's sort of his job description, though. Control what you can control. He controls the offense, run the offense, and keep scoring points.
Backside pressure, Minshew. A little off to the leaning Trayvon Brown, incomplete.
It's a little off his hands. A little outside, but that probably should have been caught.
He does seem to like that spot, very similar to Trayvon Brown's touchdown grab, deeper down the field.
That's a safe throw. You know, young quarterbacks, take note. You throw that ball accurately in those areas where their DBs can't get to them. Sure, it's incumbent upon your receivers to get to those spots and catch it.
Austin Barnes, his third punt, entered co-leading the American at almost 44 per. Shoots this one off. McDowell lets it plummet to the end zone. They'll take the touchback. A 42-17 smothering. McDowell nearly had the pick. The Cougars still get the ball anyway. So much for first start at quarterback jitters.
Yeah, De'Ara King has performed exactly like his head coach described that he would. Composed, making smart decisions, running the ball effectively, throwing the ball accurately. Not much to say is wrong with what he's done so far. Granted, some of these long plays have been gimmies.
Look at those numbers. His quarterback rating is nearly 300. That is off the charts outstanding. Off the fake. Dunbar again. Overshot him. Corner in coverage.
Again, the nice thing about what he does there is watch where this ball is placed. Sure, he slightly overthrows him, but he doesn't overthrow it on the inside where the defensive back is. He's throwing it on the outside where his receiver, Dunbar, is.
De'Ara King, who said he channeled Vince Young some. Grew up admiring the former Texas Longhorn QB. Finds Linnell Bonner. Knocked down in ECU territory, 35 yards.
News alert, Houston receiver 15, ECU defense, cover him.
He has had 3 long grabs where he has been truly wide open.
Nobody around him all 3 times.
A look to the sidelines by King. Praised for his intellect by both his offensive coordinator Brian Johnson and head coach Major Applewhite. The keeper here, he slides down, gets a yard.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that either. That's another sign that he kind of gets it. They really want this kid to stay available, stay healthy. And I think probably the competitive instinct is to fight for a yard or two and maybe take a shot or so. Not a bad job going down and sliding to the ground.
Originally committed to TCU, said the coaching staff at Houston is what swayed his choice.
Because he wanted to do this, play quarterback.
What room. Duke Catalan nearly has the first. We check in with Tina.
John, you mentioned how De'Ara King was a big fan of Vince Young growing up, a huge Texas fan. He said he remembers every play from that 2006 Rose Bowl when Texas beat USC, and that play finishes up there. And Major Applewhite said against USF, there were kind of shades of Vince Young, but he won't tell De'Ara King that. Back to you.
Well, if he has folks watching this game, I guess he knows now. Appreciate it, Tina. 12 yards there. There's a Pirate slow to get up and a Cougar.
Yeah, that's not good for Houston. Rogers, the big right tackle, 51.
And Bobby Fulp starting strong safety for ECU, both getting tended to by their respective athletic training staffs. And Ty Rogers, a top 10 junior college transfer when he arrived out of Iowa Western Community College. His OC, Brian Johnson, said that he was the nastiest guy on his offensive line, that he had the most attitude, what you want from an offensive lineman. You were an old lineman. You're never nasty.
I wore that same number. He wears it well. He's got a little bit of that edge. If he gets a chance to put you in the ground, he's going to put you in the ground. That's really good. And he plays with enthusiasm in general. So he's not that stoic, silent kind of guy. You can tell on the field he's very verbal.
Bobby Fulp also becoming more vocal, per his coordinator Robert Prunty. The walk-on, top 5 on the team in tackling, who had a huge hit on the opening play of the BYU win. Here's Fulp, number 8. And he and Rogers get twisted up.
Yeah, that was Rogers finishing on Fulp.
Now remember, the Cougars are without Josh Jones, their starting left tackle. Jared Williams replaced him for about half of the game against USF last week and got the start today.
And did a really nice job. Very nice job. Not only last week, but he's done a very good job here. It's sometimes the newness of it and the suddenness of going into a game for a starter. You can do that. But then when you know you're the starter, guys sometimes don't react exactly perfectly. But Williams has done a pretty good job today to back up that performance he had last week.
With the cart being rolled out for Bobby Fulp, who has been banged up on the season. The ECU was down quite a few players, either outright or limited in recent weeks. They got nearly a dozen back today, and Fulp putting no weight on that right foot, helmet off, as he arrives on the cart. Now, Tim Irvin came back this week, the Auburn transfer. Scottie Montgomery said that Irvin allows them to be more aggressive with the blitz game. He had forecasted that Irvin and Fulp would be about 50-50 with reps, but it seems like we've seen far more Fulp today.
Yeah, we really have. I think the other play where it really stood out was that missed tackle on the Catalan touchdown run. But otherwise, he's done a very nice job back there.
And it looks like Marcus Oliver is going to move out to right tackle, and Mason Denley will come in for Oliver at right guard. Marcus Oliver, the older brother of Ed Oliver, takes over for Ty Rogers. Bonner. And this time around, he has the defender. I think they heard your echo there, Randy.
They found him. They found him. They kept track of him on that play.
Devontae Robinson, the tackle. Drives him for a loss.
Brought him from that slot position, almost in that speed run kind of a motion, that orbit sweep.
Homecoming for the Cougars, who have had a number of explosive plays today. They go pistol with King. Off the fake on the edge. Longer look, incomplete. Unable to hook up with Linnell Bonner. For more on the latest injury updates, let's check in with Tina.
So right now, John, Rogers is in the medical tent, so I can't see what they're tending to. However, Garrett Davis had run into the locker room a little bit earlier here in the third quarter. He ran with his own power, but he did go back there with several trainers, and he remains in the locker room, so he's not available at this time.
Well, thank you, Tina. We'll see what the future has in store for Ty Rogers. Cougars will have some time off next week. It'll be a couple of weeks when they take the field again against Tulane. A drop by tight end Romello Brooker.
Maybe a freckle behind Booker. Worst case, he put that on his backside hip. Watch this ball placement. Just a little bit behind him. Those are the kind of balls that sometimes receivers are worried more about what's in front of them than what's been slightly thrown behind them.
So here's a 44-yard try from Caden Novikov, who's hit from as long as 45 on the year. Junior college transfer out of Trinity Valley Community College. His first attempt today. He's got the leg and he nails it. Novikov from 44 yards out, and Houston ups its advantage 45-17. The junior place kicker able to connect on the field goal. Cougars at least have points. The margin's very significant, but Randy, there's a lot of football left. How are you managing the reps with King and the other first unit men on both sides for Houston?
You know, I'm more concerned, to be honest with you, the performance and the consistency and the pace and the execution of my offense. You know, I love the 1- and 2-play drives, but, you know, for Major Applewhite right now, next time they get the ball back would not be a bad time to see a 10-play drive where they just go and go and go and eventually finish it off with a touchdown.
They decided not to kick to Trayvon Brown last time out. Well, they go to an up man again. Indeed. And right to Penix once more. This time will try to run it back. Gets a few. This week's college football playoff poll, powered by Ram Trucks. Are you in favor of Georgia over Alabama there?
I think they've earned it. They look pretty good, though I think Alabama's the best team in the country. This top 10 is going to see a lot of motion at the end of this day because, you know, Georgia has got South Carolina. Clemson's got a game at NC State. Oklahoma's involved in Bedlam. Miami has got Va Tech down there in Miami. You're going to see a lot of motion in that top 10. It's just the first crack at it.
7 matchups of 2 teams each in the top 25 this week. Tyshawn Dye finally getting his first look. He rips off 5, the Clemson transfer, who was back after missing time for personal reasons and missed the last couple of games. And Tony Peterson told us that wind-wise he was fine, but how many reps he would get in practice would determine if and how much he'd play today. Off the fake, Minshew, that did not baffle many. Gets only a yard, plummeting forward. So ECU has used all 5 running backs today.
Pirate O-lineman down.
That is Garrett McGinn, the Florida State transfer, who had been filling in at center when Spellacy was banged up. They're going to send DeMarcus Shaw, junior college transfer, on as McGinn limps off. That's where Scottie Montgomery told you, Randy, they would get so much better with Spellacy at center because McGinn at guard, especially against Oliver, would give them a better chance.
McGinn, 55 there working. He gets shoved from the left and then shoved over by the pile coming from the other side. That was kind of a high-low action. 55 right there at right guard. Working right there in the middle of your screen. Check it out. A little something coming from the right and then a little something coming from the left. And the something coming is Spellacy and Ed Oliver getting drilled over onto the side of his leg.
Injuries continue to mount for ECU, which plays a number of transfers and walk-ons as it stands. Something in the Tar Heel State. North Carolina is dealing with a variety of injury issues this year.
And back when Spellacy was hurt, McGinn was playing center. And speaking of Spellacy, you got to say, the young man's done a nice job against Oliver. He's gotten some help, but he's also done a nice job when he's been one-on-one.
Trayvon Brown dragged down. He's got the first. That'll stop the clock as they set the chains. Will they run one more play here? Now the ball spotted. They will not. So we are through 3 quarters of play. Houston 45, ECU 17. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by the Home Depot. Let's take a look at today's Chick-fil-A game summary. 22 yards per completion
How do you like that? How about time of possession? 20, almost 30 minutes for ECU. On the other side for Houston, 15-24. Oh, and 45 points too.
A chasm between these teams today. Gardner Minshew, over 300 in the air, and he loses the ball, falls upon it, and he'll lose yards back to the 39. Let's go to New York City for the latest scoring update. Well, the Hoosiers trying to get off the schneid against Wisconsin. And ECU gains a few with Tyshun Dye. Zeki Egbule delivers the contact.
So the other score that's going to raise people's eyebrows is that Mississippi State-UMass game. It's 27-20 Mississippi State.
And no matter what happens there, the fact that it's so competitive.
Not good for Mississippi State, especially not coming off that big game last week where they smoked A&M.
Blitz on. Minshew. Brown. Veered at a play by Matthew Adams. Heck of a job by Minshew to step up under that pressure.
Yeah, and Brown has really been a best case scenario for this offense because he is such a physical mismatch. Great big receiver. And Minshew's done a nice job moving the pocket and then getting the ball as Brown adjusted to his quarterback who was moving.
Got 20 of his 118 yards on that grab. Minshew. Steve Baggett, the tight end, rarely targeted today. Defended by Alexander Myers.
Good protection. Minshew gets the ball out of his hands really clean. Not quite as clean on the other end.
Only 5 grabs on the year for Baggett. Hard cadence. And there's Baggett's 6th catch. Immediately dragged down by DeJuan Hines. Now, Tony Peterson, offensive coordinator for ECU, told us that Steve Baggett doesn't get credit all the time, but what he does beyond catching the football is a big part of their offensive success.
And that's a ball out in the middle of the field, middle of the defense. We haven't seen a lot of action in there. A lot of stuff on the outside throwing-wise for ECU.
It feels like Houston's gone a little softer defensively. Intercepted. Alongside Minshew, Brandon McDowell. He lost a pick earlier this half. He runs this one 75 yards for a score.
Well, pretty good reason they've stayed away from the in-between the hash marks part. Williams had an interception earlier. That one just thrown in the wrong doggone place. That ball had no business being there. 2 defenders and 1 lonely receiver buried somewhere behind them.
Houston with 12 interceptions on the year, entered top 20 in the country. And they pick up a score on the pick 6. 52-17. A drilling in Houston as Minshew gets picked off and McDowell claims the score. Houston smothering the Pirates. Let's take a look at today's Geico difference makers with Houston on top of ECU 52-17. The receivers for the Cougars, a giant part of it. Stephen Dunbar, a career day A career-long 75-yard grab for a score, the 171 yards, a career best as well. And Linnell Bonner, a lot of his yards have come with nobody defending him.
Yeah, the lonely man. 3 of those 7 receptions, he's been basically running free by himself when he's been hit in the hands by his quarterback, De'Ara King.
And it looks like De'Ara King is done. They've had Kyle Allen warming up, helmet on. Penix. Darius Penix, running back, the up man on the return unit. It's some solid field position.
Hey, you're looking for room for improvement. If you're Major Applewhite for your football team, you're very happy with what your offense has done. Sure, you could look at some possessions they've had some problems or maybe minor glitches, but the real room for improvement today has been on the defensive side. I know they've got turnovers and they've got points off those turnovers, but ECU's been very successful. There'll be some glitches to fix on the defensive side, specifically getting blocked and staying blocked.
Garrett McGinn is back at right guard. He had limped off the field ECU's last possession. In the flat, able to rip off a few. Austin Robinson takes out Quay Johnson. But yes, those 3 turnovers result in 3 touchdowns, and as a result of that, the lead balloons even grander and probably hides a little bit of what ECU's been able to accomplish.
Yeah, plays like that are great cosmetics. I mean, they're wonderful deodorants.
Not much for Tyshawn Dye. Big pop at the 47. He'll be about 2.5 yards short.
Needless to say, at this point, this might be 2 more plays to get this first down. Be more than willing here towards the midfield stripe to go for it, not only here with a run, but also with a 4th play.
Quay Johnson motion. Dangerous pass, somehow finds Taj Deans, and what a tackle made, a yard short by Austin Robinson.
Austin Robinson, that's a man-sized tackle there. That's just picking up the big receiver in a little bit of a form bear hug and throwing him down.
Ed Oliver on the sidelines, 4th and short. Cirk comes back in. This is only his 2nd play since the 2nd series. The other play was down and goal, screamed quarterback run. That's what happened, and Houston gobbled him up. Hassan Howe pass catching back, normally used in 3rd down enters. Cirk keeps, and he's got the first. Cirk searches the sidelines. Looks like he'll stay in there. Surprised to see this?
No, not really. I mean, Coach Montgomery made a point that he was going to play both his quarterbacks, and I think right now.
Off the fake, off target to Quay Johnson.
Wow, that was a tip ball away from being another turnover.
And now Cirk is out. Ed Oliver remains on the sidelines.
That was an example there. You talked about a slightly errant throw. There was a slightly errant throw in front of the receiver that really didn't get him a chance. You get that ball to the guy, the receiver can catch it and run.
Cirk only 2 of 6 passing. Made a miss, not a touchdown to begin the game. Minshew, after a few plays on the bench. Oh, incredible move by Hassan Howe. The field hasn't been very forgiving today, particularly between the 40s. Both teams have slipped some, and he found the cut.
Yeah, there's some ground up tires and rubber in these fields. There's some breaks right there. Surprised there's not a little puff of smoke in that spot where he made that cutback. That was a heck of a break.
3rd and short. Johnson swerves for the first. And there was Steve Baggett, the tight end, helping to spring him free.
Another first down. The clock will stop as they move the chains.
There's a look at the defensive line coach, A.J. Blum, Ed Oliver's high school coach.
Sort of in charge, too, of making sure Oliver's very aware of what's coming at him. We saw, 3rd a low block early in the game, but
Minshew flushed, flag down, long look, touchdown Taj Deans. Isaiah Johnson in coverage. Will this stand?
Illegal formation. Offense. 5 players lined in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Second time this game, this exact penalty has been called for 5 men in the backfield.
yep, it happens again. It's the definition of stopping yourself. It's an attention to detail, because this one deserves to be a touchdown. Isaiah Johnson got turned around, sort of lost track of not only where he was, but where the guy he was covering was at. And Scottie Montgomery's offense should have had 6 more points on the board, but instead they're backed up 10 yards.
7 penalties, 51 yards for the Pirates. Howe silenced at the 39. So Houston, the giant lead. And the big questions entering this game: could ECU trampoline off its win against BYU, infuse the returning players, find some rhythm? To an extent, maybe?
Well, a little bit, offensively especially. But they had the luxury against BYU of playing against a team that really couldn't score, who had a lot of injuries, and their offense is not very good. Definitely not the case here against Houston.
Over the middle, Howe swung down by Matthew Adams. And for Houston, could the Cougars make sure inferior foe, could they follow up on that USF victory, that resolute second half?
One of the most important things when you're growing as a team that can happen is winning the games you should win, beating the people you absolutely should beat, believing your coach, executing. And, you know, I know it's not exactly PC, but there's teams you should drill. And when you should drill them, you drill them.
A drilled pass lost by the leaping Taj Deans. Joel Williams in coverage.
I tell you, this ECU, this Pirate quarterback, Minshew, has done an amazing job of delivering the ball in some really nice windows. That one wasn't complete, but it wasn't the quarterback's fault.
So here's a long field goal try from Jake Verity. This will be a 52-plus yard try, his long 46 against UConn.
Plenty of leg.
Jake Verity pounds through the 52-yard try on a hot and humid day in Houston. Points for the Pirates. (52-20), Houston Cougars smothering the ECU Pirates on the sideline. It's looked like Kyle Allen will take over the offense. He's been loosening, helmet on. De'Aaron King has had himself a big-time day. Cougars have taken advantage. 3 turnovers turned into 21 points, including a pick-6 touchdown. Cougars on their way to their 6th victory in bowl eligibility. It would also dismiss any chance for the Pirates, who had to win out, including today. Now, Jake Verity just hit a 52-yard field goal that ties as the longest made by any kicker in the American this year. Caleb Pratt handles kickoff duties. And a touchback. Let's go downstairs to Tina.
When Kyle Allen got the call to go in at quarterback, he put his helmet on, started warming up, and De'Aaron King jumped up and started getting in his ear. In fact, after that, De'Aaron King was kind of going down this offensive bench here, talking to all the position players, and he was really embracing that leadership role. And yesterday, I asked Major Applewhite what he needed King to improve upon, and he said volume. He's quiet. He needs to talk more, both on the field, at the line of scrimmage, but also with his teammates, because he already puts his team first, and he's smart. He just needs to be of more encouragement, and then people will follow. I started seeing that today, guys.
Well, thank you, Tina, and that's part of the maturity, right? But rather instant growth for De'Aaron King.
Yeah, being 16 of 21 for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, that'll make you a little louder, too. Guys will listen. Even if your volume doesn't match that play quite as much, they'll listen harder when they know you can play like that.
Make plays, make impact. So Kyle Allen at quarterback. We've also seen Davion Mitchell, the freshman running back. He just had that last carry. Keith Corbin getting some reps at wide receiver. So the second unit, Ellis Jefferson is out there. Derek McLemore. The entire first string of the skill position, it appears, is done for the day. A little bit of a stumble. Mitchell knocked down at the 30. Jordan Williams, yet another tackle, continues to amass the tackle volume.
Well, especially inside the tackles, Williams has done a very nice job of filling those holes and blunting the run, just as a guy who lines up at middle linebacker should.
He's got 9 tackles today. Off the fake, Allen launching. Incomplete, looking for Keith Corbin, who's been a big play receiver.
Yeah, and Allen took a heck of a shot back there, too, as he was getting this ball off. Testament to he's got some nice accuracy under fire because he gets his shoulder or his ribs for his effort. Ball was delivered pretty decent, though. That's one of those ones, especially when a guy gets hit like that, you want to see that catch made.
The Texas A&M transfer who sat out last year. Incomplete, Zidane Roy. Big part of Houston ranking among the best in America at punt return defense last year. Quay Johnson, the fair catch. They've nullified the return game, a 46-yard kick.
It's about what he's averaged on his punts is 46.
Roy gets it done. Cougars all over.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Experian. Identity protection has a new identity. By Verizon, the best network and the best unlimited. And by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Go get rewarded now at bestwestern.com.
That was the scene last night, a gala held here on campus. The face of CBS Sports, the namesake of our broadcast booth, Jim Nantz, class of 81 at Houston, emceed as they commemorated the 50-year anniversary of the game of the century. Houston halted UCLA's 47-game win streak, the first regular season game shown on national primetime TV. It ignited college basketball as a national commodity.
That game was called by the great Dick Enberg,
who was also part of the scene here at Houston last night. Your beloved Bruins falling. Should be noted that Kareem, back then, Lou Alcindor, an eye injury suffered before that game. Had the worst game of his Bruins career. They got a rematch in the Final Four.
They did well in the rematch.
And they drilled him.
But what a scene in that Astrodome 50 years ago.
And it's all part of a documentary on the game of the century that CBS Sports Network will air in January. Something we'll have certainly programmed, ready to receive. Third and 1. Darius Penix has got the first, running into Roman Brown. Let's check in with Tina Servasio for an injury update.
And, John, we have some bad news. I'm being told by the ECU SID that safety Bobby Fulp has a right ankle dislocation. So, obviously, out for the season. Back to you, John.
Well, thank you, Tina. Oh, that's dire news for Fulp and for his head coach, Scottie Montgomery. Fulp, a senior, the walk-on, a top 5 tackler on the team.
Yeah, well, and just an all-around excellent football player and leader.
Minshew firing for Grayson. And the ball knocked loose. Isaiah Johnson able to get a hand in there.
Tell you what, Isaiah Johnson's not done a pretty good job because they have not hesitated testing the inexperienced defensive back. You got a guy you know was a receiver. They've moved him in the corner. They've attacked him. And I'm impressed with his resiliency, his athletic amnesia, because he doesn't dwell on what happened to him a play or so before.
And it's been Groundhog Day of sorts. Nice blocking. Able to spring free. Somehow balance kept, and Grayson finally knocked down by Brandon McDowell at the 42.
Yeah, I mean, this is another case, except on the flip side, of being blocked and staying blocked. ECU, nice execution. Getting bodies on bodies, and the bodies stay on those bodies, enables the receiver to turn that into an extra 20 yards.
I think that Trayvon Brown, who picks up 23. Farrier immediately contacted as the ball arrives. Minshew. Well timed again. Kadarian Smith arrives as the ball does. Pirates slow to get up. Midrian Vines helped up to his feet. Will step aside. Up next, a pivotal game in the battle for the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy. Air Force welcomes Army to Colorado Springs, then a Mountain West showdown. Colorado State and Wyoming, 7 Eastern only on CBS Sports Network. CIC on the line. Navy already beat Air Force right here on CBS Sports Network. That was a thriller, 48-45 back on October the 7th. We'll see what transpires as those two teams meet right here on CBS Sports Network.
And Navy's looking very beatable. If Army can get this one, it'll all come down to that wonderful game, that Army-Navy event in Philadelphia.
Which, of course, you can catch on CBS Sports. Minshew, 50 completions today. Off the fake, there's number 51, Taj Deans. He's got the first down as we take a look at the injury suffered by wide receiver Midrian Vines.
Well, immediately hit, all spread out like that. I mean, there's no telling what could have happened, but look at that leg gets bent underneath him as he falls. That could be part of the problem.
Injuries continue to mount for the Pirates. Minshew, program record-setting day with his completions. That one off target to Anthony Watley. He's been throwing a ton. So, yes, the deficit now is gigantic. But how much of the arrival at this completion number was the inability to run against Houston? How much of it was the rhythm that Minshew displayed with the pass attack?
Sometimes you have to do what you do well. And on this day and with this quarterback, the way he's throwing the ball, what they do well is throw it. Sometimes you just got to kind of be who you are, not who you want to be.
Has Minshew done enough today where he enters Tulane as the starter?
I would sure think so. I mean, there's a reason Scottie Montgomery had every reason to believe or to feel that he'd play both quarterbacks today. Cirk throwing that early interception gave him the reason to put in Minshew, and Minshew's performance says nothing about taking him out.
Minshew hooks up with Quade Johnson, barrels into a pair of defenders. He's in, touchdown. Roman Brown, part of the pair, right on the doorstep. 18-yard touchdown grab for the senior.
Yeah, and on his 68th pass, he throws his third touchdown. Just a nice job of protection. Good, accurate throw. Hitting a moving receiver, and then the receiver doing a perfect job. Sort of curling things in and taking it to the house.
Point after is good. So the Pirates who average a little more than 23 points per game. Hit their 27th of the day with that point after. 52 of 68.
Offense is not their problem. They can run the ball if they really have an opponent they can run against, but they threw the ball today because they knew the receivers could block. They knew that Minshew can deliver the ball. That confluence of events worked out well. They scored 27 points. Problem is, on the other side of the ball, they ran into a much better offense than BYU from 2 weeks ago. This Houston offense was more than they could even start to handle.
Fifth time this year, ECU has allowed 50 or more points. Pirates entered this week last in America in scoring defense, nearly 46 per. Total defense, 578 yards a game. Pass defense, second worst, 327. But they get that score. And now Brandon McDowell ready to return for the Cougars. Caleb Pratt's kick, plenty deep, a touchback. Let's revisit our keys to the game today. See how they played out.
Well, when you look at them, offense mixed quarterbacks. Well, they didn't quite mix because Minshew, once he got in, he was in. Saw Circa intermittently. Defense create turnovers. That, to me, is one of the big keys. They never made an inexperienced quarterback for Houston turn the ball over. Offense, fast start. Yep, 28 points in 4 of the first 5 drives. Then they kept scoring. That was a huge part for Houston.
And Major Applewhite had expressed the yearning for his offense to have some early success. Seems rather obvious, but when you're dealing with a third different starting quarterback, that's a bit of a wrinkle. Patrick Carr, the Colorado transfer, rips off 2.
Yeah, I mean, and you're taking a chance. You're putting a guy in at quarterback that, yeah, you recruited him as a quarterback, but he's been a receiver. He's been a kick returner. He hasn't been terribly healthy. Sure, he had a great game last week, but it was a gamble. They were kind of hoping in one hand and guessing in the other. And it really paid off. And I think kudos not only to the staff for making that decision, but for De'Aaron King to make that thing pay off the way he did.
De'Aaron King, big part of putting 52 on the board. Carr, battering ram, plows into Corinne Wiggins. They'll be just short. Let's take a look at the upcoming games for the Houston Cougars down the stretch. Now, the Cougars had a game lost at the start of the year. The UTSA game was canceled, so they're off next week. Then a visit to Tulane, a tough team at 3-5, and they'll wrap it up with Navy right here at Houston.
Yeah, Tulane's going to be a good match for Major Applewhite and company because that's not an easy place by its nature to go and play. And Coach Fritz has got that team. They're resilient, put it that way. They've lost 5 games, but there's not much give up in those guys at all.
Does it help Houston to not only have the week off in advance of the spread option that Tulane has, but able to integrate for both Tulane and Navy with that prep week?
Yeah, that's a big deal. It really is. Because you'll get the basic option principles with Tulane, and then you got the master's tests against Ken Niemazzalolo and Navy, who run that option as well as anybody in the country has for quite some time.
And Navy, though, on a 3-game slide, beaten by Temple on Thursday night. The American Conference, you never know, game to game. The elite teams in this league can get tripped up. We saw it with Houston against Tulsa. That was part of back-to-back weeks when opponents scored a combined 80 points in second-half play. Blew 3 different 17-0 lead or 17-point leads to Memphis.
Now, the key with Navy, though, is when they're not terribly disciplined and they make mistakes and they don't execute, they're extremely beatable, as it's been proven the last couple weeks.
Major Applewhite and his Houston Cougars could watch the final seconds fade away. The Cougars will get their 6th win in bowl eligibility. They follow up on their upset of USF by pummeling ECU, bowl eligible for a 5th consecutive campaign. The Cougars are 6-3, 4-2 in league play. De'Aaron King in his first career start at quarterback, sensational. And the Pirates plummet to 2-7. They're 1-4 in the league. Scottie Montgomery's team will have just 3 games left. Will not have a chance to get to 6 victories. So the Cougars, with some help, could make things interesting still in the West. Memphis in the driver's seat after its win over Tulsa last night. SMU, a big part of the puzzle as well, while ECU near the bottom of the East, a division owned by UCF that still has USF to come, the war on I-4 that Thanksgiving week. De'Ara King, though, growing as a leader, growing as a QB today. 3rd different starting quarterback for the Cougars, 3rd different man to throw for 300 in a game.
And there'll be some long, sleepless nights for Tulane and Navy and their defensive staffs trying to get ready for this young man at quarterback and the specific skill set that he offers, which I think is very unique.
Let's go down to the field. Tina Servasio with the head man, Major Applewhite.
All right, John, thank you. Coach Applewhite, there was a variety to your play calling today. What gave you the confidence in De'Ara King in his first start at quarterback?
Well, he's handled it so well. He studies hard. He's a competitor. Brian Johnson's done a great job with him and bringing him along through, in and out of the injuries all the way from spring ball. And he just continues to want the best of himself. So he's his hardest critic. So, really proud of the way he's played the last 2 games. We just need to keep it going during this off week and when we get back against Tulane.
And a lot of those scoring drives, just 2 or 3 plays. What allowed Derek to be so efficient, move the team down the field?
Well, that's the other half. He does some great things himself, but the players around him, Steve, Linnell, and then obviously the offensive line in the backs allowing him to have success. And he'll be the first to tell you that, too.
6-3, you're now bowl eligible, but what more do you want from this team the rest of the season?
Well, we need to heal up a little bit during the off week, and we're getting ready to play 2 triple option teams. So, kind of shift gears and focus on what we have in terms of our opponents coming up the next 2 weeks. And, we've got to improve so much in the secondary. That's just what's shown the last 2 weeks, just vulnerable back there.
Still just allowing 27 points. What more do you need from that secondary when you have these upcoming opponents?
Yeah, 27 is way too many for us. And so, there's just a variety of things from assignments to technique, and there's no free agent wire, so we just got to get better with the guys that we have.
Coach Applewhite, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to say hi to my wife who's sick and didn't get to make it today. Thanks a lot. And my 8-year-old daughter, too.
Everyone get well.
Right.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. John, Randy, back to you.
Well, thank you, Tina. Cougars get it done. A 52-27 demolition of ECU in bowl eligibility. For Randy Cross, Tina Servasio, and our entire CBS crew, I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Now we send you back to New York City. Brent Stover and the gang in our studios.